The pads are finally on. And with that, Miami Dolphins training camp just went up a notch. Day one of full contact action brought high energy, tough competition, and unfortunately, some serious injury concerns. Let's dive straight into the biggest story of the day. Safety Ashtyn Davis, yes, one of Miami's key free agent signings, went down during practice with what appeared to be a non-contact foot injury. That's never a good sign. According to Barry Jackson's report, Davis limped off the field with visible pain, barely putting any pressure on his left foot. Although the cart was brought out, Davis showed serious grit, refusing the ride and walking off on his own, but not without help from teammates, including Tua Tagovailoa, who offered support. But here's the worrying part. Davis later returned, wearing a walking boot and using crutches. That raises red flags. Now, before we get to the rest of today's updates, a quick reminder. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss a Dolphins update. All right, let's move on to the latest camp developments. Ashtyn Davis's injury couldn't have come at a worse time. He was expected to be a key piece in Miami's safety rotation alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick, after both Davis and Tevon Campbell correction from Fatamenu were signed earlier this offseason. Even though the Dolphins added Fitzpatrick via that massive trade with Pittsburgh, Davis was still projected to play a major role. And now, his absence could stretch multiple weeks, if not longer. There's already quiet concern it could be season-ending, though we'll wait for official confirmation. If Davis is out, Miami's depth at safety is razor-thin. With Bubba Bolden corrected spelling from Mellon still on the non-football injury NFI list, and Dante Trader Jr. also dealing with some minor issues. That leaves only Patrick McMorris and Elijah Campbell as the remaining healthy options. Let that sink in. Week 1 isn't even here, and the Dolphins safety group is already walking a tightrope. Let's shift gears and talk opportunity, because one man's injury opens the door for another to rise. With Ashtyn Davis potentially sidelined for weeks or longer, the Dolphins safety room just became a battleground. And two young names are now firmly in the spotlight. First up, Patrick McMorris, last year's 6th-round pick. Before camp, his chances of cracking the 53-man roster looked slim. But now, he's got a real shot to lock up that 5th safety spot. All he needs is consistency over the next couple of weeks, and the door is wide open. And don't sleep on John Saunders Jr., the undrafted rookie who's quietly turning heads. He's already made some splash plays in camp, and with Miami's secondary depth suddenly stretched thin, Saunders has a genuine chance to force his way onto the final roster. Still, don't be surprised if GM Chris Grier and the front office start exploring veteran help. If the injuries pile up, we could see a familiar name brought in, someone like Justin Simmons, or another seasoned free agent, to stabilize things in the secondary. Now, let's talk about something Dolphins fans should be excited about. The left side of that offensive line. Rookie Patrick Paul is looking like the real deal. With Terron Armstead retiring, the pressure on Paul to step up as the franchise's next left tackle was massive. But so far, he's handling it like a seasoned pro. Today in one-on-one padded drills, Patrick Paul dominated, winning every rep but one. According to Omar Kelly, he looked like the top performer in the entire offensive line group. While other linemen had mixed days, Larry Borom struggled, James Daniels held his own, and Savion Hines was inconsistent. Paul was the standout. And it didn't stop there. In 11-on-11 team sessions, Travis Wingfield reported that Paul completely shut down Bradley Chubb. Chubb tried to spin, reset, and power through, but Paul held his ground like a brick wall. You can feel the confidence growing in this young tackle. 7 days into training camp, Patrick Paul is making a statement. And if this continues, Miami may have found its next franchise cornerstone on the offensive line. Let's keep it real. Patrick Paul is making it very hard to find flaws in his game right now. Whether it's with pads or without them, in one-on-one matchups or team drills, Paul has looked every bit like a future star on this Dolphins offensive line. Not a single negative report has surfaced about him during camp, and that silence speaks volumes. This isn't just a feel-good story. It's a massive development for Miami. Remember, when the Dolphins drafted Paul in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft, it raised some eyebrows. Offensive tackle didn't seem like an immediate need, but the front office clearly had vision. They knew Terron Armstead was nearing retirement, and they wasted no time finding his successor. Fast forward to today, and that decision is already paying off. If you're asking me for a confidence rating on Paul heading into the season, I'm giving it a solid 8.1 out of 10. And here's why. He's been consistently impressive, from Otis to minicamp to this first week of full contact work. And let's not forget, this is a second-year player who's already staring down elite edge rushers and holding his own. But here's what makes Patrick Paul truly pivotal to Miami's 2025 season. With Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback, pass protection is non-negotiable. And while Miami's front office revamped the interior line, bringing in new guards and trying to plug holes, the biggest question mark was always going to be left tackle. You lose a top-5 veteran like Armstead, and there's naturally going to be doubt. But if Patrick Paul can hold that edge, if he can be even average to above average in his first full season, it changes the entire dynamic of this offense. It gives Tua time. It gives Mike McDaniel flexibility. And it gives the Dolphins a legitimate shot to finally become a complete, top-tier unit. Not just flash, but real balance up front. So far, Patrick Paul is showing he's more than ready for that challenge. Let's be honest, Patrick Paul had some rocky moments in his rookie year. He was thrown into the fire in 3 tough matchups against physical defenses like the Titans, Texans, and Jets, and it showed. But that was expected. Growing pains are part of the process. Now, year 2 feels like a completely different story. He looks confident, in control, and ready to dominate. But Paul isn't the only young Dolphin making waves. Let's talk about Miami's top rookies and how they're already proving why they were taken so early. Starting with Kenneth Grant, the 13th overall pick out of Michigan. This guy has been a wrecking ball on the defensive line. During one-on-one drills, Travis Wingfield noted that Grant wasn't just winning reps. He was bulldozing through them. Grant reportedly took second-round pick Jonah Savaiania for a ride, and Jonah has been holding his own against nearly everyone else. That tells you how explosive Grant is in tight space. There's no doubt Kenneth Grant's blend of raw power and quickness is jumping off the field. From the early reports and practice clips, it's becoming clear. He's not here to sit behind anyone. He's already positioning himself as a day-1 starter, likely lining up next to Zach Sealer in the heart of the defense. But here's where it gets even more exciting. Wingfield also gave some love to Jonah Savaiania, saying that even without pads, he saw Jonah move Sealer off the ball in a way he's rarely witnessed in camp. That's no small feat. Sealer is a seasoned pro known for his strength, and Jonah, straight out of Arizona, is already showing the kind of leverage and hand power that coaches dream of. So picture this. On one side, you've got Patrick Paul, a second-year tackle shutting down guys like Bradley Chubb. On the other side, Kenneth Grant is collapsing pockets and blowing up run plays. In the trenches, Jonah Savaiania is moving veteran linemen like they're practice dummies. This isn't just about hype, it's about foundation. The Dolphins didn't just draft talent. They may have landed franchise cornerstones on both sides of the ball. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how promising this young Dolphins core is starting to look, especially in the trenches. When your second-round rookie is out-muscling one of your best defensive linemen, that's not just progress, that's a shift. For years, Miami fans have talked about needing to get tougher, stronger, and more physical in the trenches if this team was ever going to break the 25-year playoff win drought. Well now, that shift might be starting. Between Patrick Paul locking down the left tackle spot and Jonah Savaiania flashing raw power at left guard, this duo could form the foundation of Miami's offensive line for the next 5 to 10 years. You can't build sustained success without controlling the line of scrimmage. And it finally feels like the Dolphins are investing properly where it counts. And on the other side of the ball, Kenneth Grant continues to impress with his strength, motor, and explosiveness. The way he's disrupting plays in the backfield and holding his ground against veterans makes it feel like he's not just ready to contribute. He's ready to be a day one impact starter. These three, Paul, Jonah, and Grant, represent more than just solid draft picks. They're the blueprint for long-term success. Tough, coachable, violent in the trenches, the kind of players every playoff team builds around. And while the youth movement on the line is turning heads, another group is quietly stealing the show. Let's talk about Miami's running back room, possibly the deepest and most balanced position group on the roster. It's stacked with speed, vision, and versatility. And when the pads came on during today's practice, that depth was on full display. You could feel the shift in tone, real contact, real power runs, and a focus on physicality. This group is built to withstand injuries, adapt to schemes, and wear down defenses over 4 quarters. Rookie Jalen Wright has had a strong camp overall. Yes, he had a bit of an inconsistent showing on Tuesday, but don't let that overshadow the flashes he's already shown. His acceleration and balance have stood out, and he's pushing hard to earn regular snaps in what's already a highly competitive backfield. With more physical practices ahead and real competition brewing at every position, this Dolphins team is starting to look tougher, deeper, and more complete than it has in years. Let's talk about the most exciting part of camp that's flying under the radar, the running backs. While all eyes are on the trenches, Miami's backfield is quietly cooking. And if what we're seeing in camp is any indication, this group might be one of the most explosive in the entire AFC. First up, Devon Achane. He's not just running, he's flying. On Tuesday, he hauled in a deep 40-yard catch in stride. And if they had finished out the rep live, it easily could have been a 60-yard touchdown. His burst in the open field is simply unmatched. He's a nightmare matchup for linebackers in space. Then there's Alexander Madison. And wow, what a camp he's had. According to Barry Jackson, Madison has ripped off at least 10 explosive runs already. That's not just good, that's dominant. He's thriving in short yardage work too, showing power, vision, and consistency. He's quickly becoming Miami's most reliable between the tackles option. Jalen Wright, the rookie, continues to flash his raw speed and vision. Even with a few quieter reps, his upside is undeniable. And don't sleep on Ollie Garden either. His patience and lateral quickness have really stood out in team drills. This running back group, Achane, Madison, Wright, and Garden, is stacked, and all signs point to Miami keeping all four. Add in Alec Ingold as the fullback, and you've got one of the most balanced and dangerous backfields in the league. But the buzz isn't limited to the offense. On the defensive side of the ball, a new name is forcing his way into the spotlight. Linebacker Willie Gay Jr., signed to a 1-year deal this offseason. Gay has been Miami's most consistent defensive standout in camp. Every beat writer, every practice clip, every observation points to the same conclusion. He's everywhere. Whether it's chasing down running backs, reading plays quickly, or showing leadership in team sessions, Willie Gay Jr. has been one of the biggest surprises in camp so far. And he might not just make the team. He might be starting come week 1. Tyrel Dodson, expected to compete for that starting role, hasn't generated much buzz. There's no clear sign he struggled. But when no one's talking about you in camp while someone else is dominating, that speaks volumes. Meanwhile, Jordan Brooks continues to anchor the linebacker unit as expected, bringing the toughness and leadership Miami fell in love with last year. If Gay ends up lining up beside him in the starting unit, this defense could become a lot more dangerous than people think. Bottom line, this Dolphins team isn't just flashy anymore. It's getting tougher, deeper, and more complete. And the young guys and quiet additions are leading the charge. Let's finish strong with some final takeaways from Tuesday's practice. And there's a lot to unpack. The starting offensive line, it looks like it's finally taking shape. For starters, James Daniels is officially back in team drills. A massive win for Miami after last year's Achilles injury. He's moving well, and by all accounts, he looks game ready. But here's the twist. Rather than putting Daniels next to the young left tackle Patrick Paul, Miami is going with a full youth movement on the left side. That's right. It's Patrick Paul at left tackle, Jonas Savini at left guard, Aaron Brewer at center, James Daniels shifting to right guard, which is where he's played his best football, and Austin Jackson staying locked in at right tackle. It's a blend of upside, experience, and versatility. And assuming no major injuries hit, this unit looks like it'll be the starting five heading into week 1 against the Colts. On defense, Mo Kamar flashed in team periods, recovering a fumble from rookie Jalen Wright and making a strong play to set the edge. His roster spot isn't guaranteed, but he's in the mix behind Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and of course, Chop Robinson. Wearing the orange jersey again, Chop has now been Miami's top performer in camp multiple times this offseason. His energy, burst, and pass rushing discipline have reached another level. In fact, there's buzz growing that Chop could hit 12 sacks this season. That's no small prediction. But he had 8 last year and ranked top 5 in pressure win rate between weeks 8 and 17. It's not a stretch. It's just evolution. And behind it all, defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, the quiet genius Miami fans need to start appreciating even more. His exotic blitz schemes are confusing offenses, using defensive backs like Cornell Armstrong and Kendall Sheffield as surprise edge rushers. The disguise, timing, and unpredictability in his packages are giving Miami's defense a real identity. And here's the catch. Weaver is so good, he might not be in Miami much longer. If this season plays out the way it's trending, don't be shocked if Weaver ends up as a head coach somewhere in 2026. It's bittersweet, but it's also a sign Miami is doing things the right way. That wraps it up for today's update from Dolphins training camp. Before you go, if you're loving these daily breakdowns, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss a second of Dolphins action as we roll toward week 1.